Pigtopia by Fitzgerald. 1. Dad was a porker. Mam says that Dad was pig flesh and pig mind, a huge, mucky porker with nabbed her by force. Then Jog trotted off beyond the farlands when he understood what had been hatched. She cursed of a thick sable stripe, what grew, she says, full stretch of his bony back and pearly underfare layered below bristling skin, which she named brute signs, but I am in memory of a tickly jacket beside my hog face, unclammy energetic hands with blondie hairs creeping up on wrists, loud laughs, what went far high and low down like music. The only porky thing of Dad was the suckling snore. He fell asleep sideways on the sofa. I am in memory of him until I was 12 birthdays gone. After that he was not. Mam says my head is bulky as a hog's on account of Dad was a pig. She says my brain is mush like pig slops, on that purpose. He was a no-good swine, a pig of the highest order, she shouts when whiskey is her. Times when I had less years on me, she would step me, unclothed, up on chairs to scout for sable and pearl fur. She would scrub at my hide for undergrowth. There was blood pressed out with these scrubs, and I dropped stealthy tears within pillows and jumpers so as not to stir her more. Hogboy's voice was not a welcome thing at much time, but less once Pig Dad was no more. I believe there is prospects in Mam's words my pigness, because my head is fat and squashed with a snout and heavy as a pig's must be with eyes of goblets of coal. Though there isn't trotters or curly-cued tail, I sometimes splat down to run free with piggywigs that I love, as they is brothers and sisters in my tribe, and because they love me full on. And one long time back, I made dreams of my very own fur-bristled tail that swished and throbbed as the hearts of birds in human pig hands. Pigs and me have understanding of our lacking of limits. Eyes lock upon certain sounds, or the twirl of air with movements. A sharply dab of rear trotter tells pigs is uneasy. A quick paddling by front hooves makes sign of pleasure. Snorts and snufflings have a special own meanings. How much high-low pitch, deepness, and tang all speak differing things. I hear of sadness within my tunnel ears. I share their joyfulness when they hand up big love. Jack Plum is my given name, sharp and sweet, Dad said, as the freshly plucked apple. I am the 10-to-1 Mam cannot walk. I am the blame of her wobbly legs and such constant pain that nags her like rat's teeth crunching at bone. I came out of her most wrong. Arse burst, elbows tangled up. Fists suck at forehead, ripping flesh, wrenching innards with my big broad head, snaffling at her breasts like the hungry litter. I never cried as a baby, Mam says, only screeched and grunted and snuffled and trotted on all fours from the 3 months of aging. Someplace, way within this massive headspace, I still catch echoes of Dad songs about long-gone times when pigs did fly. The songs have words of giants what walked up on earth and suffering little children being saved by a tidal wave. His song voice was deep, deep as the old well in Farmer Cotton's far field, on the cusp of the farlands, and tart like lemon buns Grandma used to churn up before she got to live with Jesus. There lurks a small slice of Dad voice within the hog skull that rocks me into sleep many nights when the rest is extreme hard to get, or the troublesome hog brain cannot find comfort anywhere. The lemon bun Grandma was of Dad's stock, was not to be welcomed in our home space, so Mam said often when her spitting tongue was out and about. She's a wild pig too, a mad sow, Mam would shout in a warpath voice if Dad said Grandma Lemon Bun should come to visiting, and his face would fall down to gloomy folds, and he would bite his lips till blood leaked off, and I would watch and give wishes for loving to find some path to come up between them. When Dad was away off with his butchering job, Mam whispered the nasties into my hog boy ears. She liked to spread hate words like Dad spread butter on morning toast, thick and melting in. I would close my inside ears off and think into a differing space where her voice was blunt like rain on high shed roofs. Sometimes in this space I got to see bright-lit flames sparking from out of her head. Dad had given me tellings about Mam's sourness in a young age. He told of sickness what blanketed her since my hatching, and how she would not have doctors, what she hated. Depression, he named it, but impressed upon me not to take hurt or bother me from her malignancy on account of the troublesome stuff was not of my making. That was the broad time when I took notice how people's talk does slip out in differing ways. If it spurts the sideways, it is mostly cross or full of spite or misery, but if it flows frontwise, it is mostly true and honey. Often when Dad made the return from his butcher days, Man would screech the reek of death was on him, and name him walking bloodbath and tell him to go from her. That is when he and me would take ourselves below to cellar ground to prate with my trains. Dad had made up a showering box there and a cupboard for fresh clothes to linger in. These times he would make his radio song voice, along with the scrub-a-dub, and I did manage tracks and stations for some trains all by my own. Sometimes the slither sounds would come down at us from voices within Mam's TV, dropped between flooring boards. In just some moments we got to hear Mam's laugh. Then me and Dad would split hands because a small goodness had turned up to brighten life. Before Dad was gone, he unfurled plans for our yet-to-come time, and made work on the digging out of a palace for pigs from the starting of the cellar out beyond fields by Pard's Wood. It was to become a large adventure. He said we would make the creation of it side upon side. I helped splodge a wall down, and we burrowed into sooty earth like minermen or moles sniffing at air, and all as full secret, napping hammers and picks with ragged towels and doing a special work if Mam was gone out or in the whiskey sleep. It was Dad's daytime dream to breed his own piggies, not chop them to chumps at blandish butchers with sharp, shiny tools. He told he'd had plenty of chopping flesh and bone for people's pots and pans. His desire was to make growing things, see runty piglets nurtured into grand sows and hogs were his efforting. For all of the hard-working time we did, Dad made his song voice or told me fresh things on life. I came to know the way he had been nurtured up on Farm Place, in a valley named Eden, which Dad called a paradise place. I have memory of all this kept safe. I was the youngest of 4 brothers, Jack, he told, and so the land would have been a long time coming into my hands. That's why I studied butchery. I understood from his mouth shape that he was regretful of this. When I have the fears and frights of the bottomless dark time, I think on that valley called Eden, and I wonder on those brothers that land. And I make a dream that some time I will go to that place and find Dad in happiness there and welcoming of me. One midnight time, beyond the digging of our hands into soreness all long day, Dad fetched me into Farmer Cotton's piglands and gathered a loud shallop for riding. He had told of pig riding the pastime and recognized that I wanted to know it and be it. The bristling body next to my short-trousered legs was not fearful to me. It was soot-pud warm and fur-bristled tail. It was just as the one of my dream time. Dad showed the ear touch for the steering, and the kitten saw pressing with knees to stop or turn. He threaded up a cat bell on soft purply ribbon with a sow's neck, and all the while, as me and Big larked along, Dad ran aside us, making sweet songs which all pigs liked. And this cat bell, it trilled and chirped, till my lop ears hummed full of delight. Dad left his own butchering tools at his going, swaddled with thin oiled cloth, whiffing of blood and spit in hidden alleys, swilling of red water and gore stuff. I maintained them clean and sharp for his return, but tucked up far from pigs so they cannot fear the end. Creatures what live along human pig kind have come to absorb our killing signs. After Dad did not come back for many days, and Mem screamed that he had abandoned us without a backward glance, I made the choice to do the completing of Dad's pig venture. It was not a task of simpleness, but I finished the pig palace all by my own work, week upon week, upon month, upon year. Digging and shaping and sweating with the strength of soil and stones, I would linger oftentimes next to the skeletons of little creatures trapped in and out of mud layers to try and know their full picture, like what they once was, and the manner of the dying. And I would be out long times beyond dark fall, seeking for build work at houses, and I would gather cement and bricks and wood and other things I had no names to give, but had seen Dad's use of or heard him call. I fashioned up this cart like the pony does have for my hog hands to drag about, full of thrown out or borrowed stuff. Some of my build-up items were not too proper, not good edges or shapes, but I struggled to uncover ways of making, and I kept on Dad's plan what he had drawn in the school book. These were dark times when I came to know the big metal boxes where people throwed things, and I learned the name for listening. It is skip. These were times when I made discovery of dustbin days, of things being put out what could be of much usefulness to me. It was like a whiskerful tomcat prowling and purring through the dark time streets, and I did get treasure for the pig palace. Such things as pretend grass, pretend flowers, shiny colorful paper, and hang down balls for decoration, metal buckets and many-sized bowls. Mam still does not know of the pig palace. She expects I play with trains still, way down in the cellar where her wheelchair will not roll, and I'll go along with that. It is my own especial place, with water from Pard's Wood stream, with ripples deep in the old water hose, and grass for tin flowers from the dustbin days and cat bells, what Dad fetched to rig out forthcoming pigs, so they could not get astray on their nightly outside romping within woods and water. My firstly pigs at year 1 were secret borrowed from Farmer Carton's early litterings, and I did return them with the extra sow in year or 2. There were some early failings what died and got put within Farmer Cotton's pens for his disposing methods, and I made up some special goodbye singing with my left pig tribe on the losing of them. Farmer Cotton has the chunky motoring lorry with slatty wood sidings for transports of animals live and dead. I do not know what he fathomed of his changing pigwig residence, but now I am many years and many litters gone, and today Freya, my bestest sow, brings more. She has fashioned the piglets, delivering nest and pants and meals, so Nodger, the dad of the piglets to come, snorts close, nudging at her with the snout and dropping fresh grass at her mouth, to make comfort with taste and moisture. I know of all this pig birthing stuff from Dad's many tellings. It is from the wild time of pigs that sows make groupings with their solder pigs and other sows. Human pigs have named this sounders, but I like to say tribes, as it is a gathering word. Many litter generations share the territory space and join in with the piglet rearing stuff. Another thing Dad told was about newborn piglets, how they slurp one special teat on their mam sow and use it all times. Freya's time is now full come. I see the makings of a piglet slurping. That is one. Freya squeals the pain and joyfulness of it, and Nodger comes lost in the squirmy shape of his first youngling, licking and rolling it at Freya's tears, until Nancy Sow trolls him away with the tribe area. Here is the next to come slumpering out, good old Freya. She knows how it must go. Way up above us within the house space, Mam smolders within wheelchair, lonely and angry, always angry. She hammers at the floor with her big stick, begging for me to attend by her. I pretend I am not hearing until Freya has squelched up 6 pigglywigs, but Mam begins the bellows as well as the banging, and her sideways voice rips at me with all its misery, so that I must go to her. Must leave now, I tell to Freya, because piggywigs need to know of my comings and goings, need to know my return will arrive. Big sorry back later, yes, and now quiet. Must be snow blanket, as leaf falling, as feathers dancing. I get the grump snort by Freya, and Nodger shouts me to the amp steps. Mam has expectation of noise from the cellar when I am below, but not other points of time, so these pigs have learned about the softening when I am gone. Clever, kind pigs. And there's Mam all worked up into meanness and blaming me. Useless creature, she says, at the sight of me. Never there when you are wanted, always hanging around when you're not. Mam's eyes have the whiskey soup look of extra meanness, not the companion glance of the pigs who want closeness. She will put her upon me if I am not wary. It is her way. She has been entirely inside doors since many years gone, and refuses exit at all times. No freshness of air enfolds her ever, and I cannot enjoy the stink of her. When she has the drunken sleeps, I bash open all the windows and let juicy wind in, to bring scents of grass and flowers and whispered words from far lands and near. One time or other I do see within the despair she keeps halted in, and I know all the blame is on me. In those instants my tongue does grow, and try to choke breath away forever. It is like a dread thing Dad did say, the voice of mine did never work its right way in the space around Mam, so I do hold no memory of it inside the hog skull. I do still make the attempt of words to soften her misery. You've been drinking whiskey, I say. As is usual, my words is all halted up and broken apart when they are out loud in Mam's space or in the outside world. This bore mouth will not work proper, and the throat parches up like sandy storms. With inside the huge head, talk does not make real sound. Perhaps eloquent, but it gushes into the open, all garbled up and wrong. Mam laughs and turns the air cold. I want my tea. Look at the clock. It's way past time for my tea. I think you do it on purpose, eh? You do, don't you? She skewers at me with her fat stick, but I am too speedy. I learned way past times to dodge fists and weapons. I start the makings of her tea and do not make arguing, because she will not listen to much of my sounds. Why would she, in the age it takes for words to shape themselves? By the clock I'm only 2 minutes of lateness, but she enjoys the stick bangs. Blam, bang, blam. The lina floor is stinted and pocked up, but she does not care. Nobody ever comes within the house space. They are all fearful of Jack Plum, overgrown goblin, or they have some jaggedness of Mam's peeved tongue. Mam's deep misery stuff pushed all sometime visitors far off and away long time back. We has placed at the very edge slice of the house rolls what nudge the beginnings of hard's wood, and that is of excellence for pigs and me. It keeps us part away from other house sounds, and is not a passing place without you one entrance to the wood. And don't turn those daft dribbly eyes on me, Nam goes on. You're the reason I can't walk, you with your big empty head stuck inside me. Don't you ever forget what you did to me. I would not forget ever. She reminders me of all days. And she is not TV goggling. Mam plays favorite music up on the player of tapes, mostly Donovan men, as he makes the sad lonely habit she seeks. She wallows like pigs in water. That is something Dad told. Stop wallowing, he said oftentimes. And stop feeling sorry for yourself. Always as he mouthed things, I spoke his words inside my hog skull to make the lips take proper shape and to twist breath for forming of them. This was the way I held on to many words inside and said them loud at lone times. Within Hoghead there is vastness of memory space which I hold on to strongly. Mam had her every time words to hurl back at Dad when he said the wallowing stuff. It was an expected return like a boy at church altar I saw one long time back. The priestly man did say his special words, and the boy at altar did respond his own, and this did go on long times. Dad did say this way. Mam did speak that way, extreme regular. Her tongue spurted these words as gun bullets, rat, brat, trat, stuff on how he abandoned and stopped loving and made a monster which is me. Times happened when Dad rushed on to his knees close by her, and gave pleads for Mam to see doctors and get helped and to get up off the wheelchair. And all of it lost on her, all his words squashed to nothing next to her big wretchedness. I consider she has no remembrance ever of happy times or contentment, or if she does, it is maybe like the shadow. What lands on her face oftentimes melts quick as snow on fire. She sings with her music until the hiccups come, and I rush in tea before she begins more bellowing stuff. I lay up on the train ice. So I lay up the train ice with a floury cloth, milk and jug, with hollyhocks around the sugar in the gold rimmed bowl. There you are, mammy, I say, my voice constantly in refusal to be whole. Don't call me that, she says, and put the mug here, not there. She turns her back from me then, for the whiskey pour within her tea. When she looks to me again, she wears her crafty, spiteful eyes. I wanted to get rid of you, she says. I wanted to flush you down the pan, but your swine of a dad wouldn't hear of it. He persuaded me to keep you, and where is he now, eh? Where's your pig of a dag? I believed in him, Jack. I dreamt everything would be okay, that we would be happy families, until I saw you dribbling and drooling out of that boar's head. I heard of this telling oftentimes, more times than a miser stacks his money, was Dad's words. I do not think she has intention of hurting. She just cannot stop the meanness coming into her, because it is all of my fault. The trap with the wheelchair, Dad gone, all of that. She sits day up on day to think around nothing much else. There is no want to be outside on her own and there is no allowing of me to push her on account of the ugliness. People laugh or gaze or run from me, and as a hogmouth cannot speak words in proper form, Mam has no belief in my understanding. Without the pigs I would be forsaken of love, and perhaps I could turn into anger shapes like man does, and want to put out blame. I know these types of stirrings, the want to make hurt, and I believe I could lash great damages, and stomp stuff to dust if it took me, sometimes mostly in the dark moments or on the edge of dream thoughts or in memory spaces. I have the longing of another to make words with, a human pig who does not mess my mouth up with the blaming, one who listens to my inside thoughts and speaks out theirs. I have had the inmost thoughts on this extra many times, and have done the watching beyond windows, out at the road, in the light, and at dark times into open curtained spaces. I gathered with my lop ears. I snouted the smell of strange human pigs, stared into the shape of them inside out and at their space between others. In all this seeking time there is one best human pig girl, what is named Hollyhock. I watch her without the road, herding with other kid pigs, stomping round, screeching louder than tribes of boars, and Hollyhock with them, but not with them. Something always held back, not shared, not used up, hid within her. She goes mulching to Pardswood on her own, some picking and poking among the mossful plantings, taking up leaves, singing, reading of books, listening at music, sometimes plodging within the stream. Hollyhock named as a tree. Her Mam calls the word in two pieces, Holly. I make the shape of it inside my hog skull, and it does come out right. Hollyhock. Following from what Dad did on the pig thing, I did draw my own venture plans some times back. It is to make an attachment with Holly for the alone place and both of us to become a connecting thing. I dream of it, wake time and sleep time, Jack Plum and Holly Lock, putting words together and making laughs. There is always much laughs within the dream time, and I plan that we do troll on the pig paths within the wood, and I explained to her of the inmost four paths, what Dad told of using ancient naming like Torque. Pigs full of sacred and divineness, and at my pig's outside nighttime plodge place is way old carvings on rock and relic symbols which I will show to her. Dad did find these one long time back, and there was decision for pig lodging place made. They is of true rareness, Dad telled, and has to be guarded from destructions. They does come about in wild boar time with goddess, what Dad named Demeter, did dance together with pigs of great sacredness, and they did stay within our temples. I made a name for this rock carving, what is pig relic stone. It is round as pigs' bellies, with marks of boar head and an ear ring of spirals, and on the sides is markings of double lines and comb and mirrors, what Dad told is most especial for pig divine stuff. I make blessings there on many moon times for this plan of connection with Hollylock, and she will see this one time soon. I have big memory stuff to share with her, as one time when Dad took me to those hoppings at the town moor and brought pinkish candy floss, which got stuck in my hair and teeth. He took no bother from the staring at me or the turned away sharp murmurings. He looked full in their eyes like a dare for them to name me monster. Some did, but from longish distances, and Dad would look to me and say, "They're cowards, Jack, and we don't have time to spare for cowards. Life's too short for that." And those times he told me two of these mystery pigs way gone, of names like Orc Trafe, huge bores of tale-telling, but filled with the magic. All of these I will tell unto Holly for her own memory keeping. Hollylock has never done the laughs at me, or slinged stones or grass sods, as some of the other spiky kitty pigs does, some as angry as man boiling away inside his volcanoes wanting to erupt and burn destruction on adults and sometimes animals. They must not know of my pig palace, never hear the songful way a sow does croon her newborns into slumber, never know the cleverness of porkers, or the way their flesh and our flesh can knit together as brothers and sisters below skin. Some years past, Hollylock had a huge birthday time partying, and kitty pigs danced in the road, punched balloons up and about. Her man placed a big bright thing up, and it did flutter words, "Happy birthday, Holly, 11 years old today." I asked Ma'am of the words, and that I made the mark on my calendar. That one Blanche the butcher still delivers us on Christmas time, with drawings of how pigs and cows are made of chops and liver and bacon. I listened and waited and watched and kept it in memory time, year upon year upon year on year, until my front brain space told it was time to make the approach. I look within now, and I see the place and check the mark on the calendar. It is the coming time of another Holly birthday. Part of my planning was this waiting, this giving of offerings and making right time of connection. Now is it the birthday of 14 years, and the pig relic stone blessing is strong. I must make a gift just as is destined. I will try for the alliance of me and the pigs in Hollylock. From the up steps inside window I make notice when Hollylock leaves the pack of shrieking kitty pigs and strolls her way beyond onto the lane what leads on to Pard's Wood. None follows her on. They do not relish woods except the hunting ones of guns and noise, and I do scent when they is approaching long way off. The tall girl pig with the drop-down mouth, what is named Samantha, makes notice she is gone, but flings back into the trick of jumping with a board of rollers, up slopies and down, leaps and sides. I cut along at the edge of my garden and follow, making out of sight as Holly strides the stream to stare at the mumblings water and pokes at undergrowth as she is searching for treasure. This is the time, the years-long waiting time, and there is the struggle of my mouth to make words straight when my breath is not good at all. Holly Lock is how it comes. She stands tall up as startled sheep to face at me, offside and near snorting. She puts me in mind of Freya Pig, but I make no laugh, in case I put the frighteners on her. "Go away, Jack Plum," she says. "I'm not allowed to talk to you." I watch her eyes close now, closer than I has ever been. They is bright copper brown and extra big as they stare out to me. "Happy birthday, Holly," I say. "It is not my birthday till tomorrow," she says, and her eyes dart beyond to see signs of any human pig up on the path. There is not one, my lop ears tell me that. I managed to make the words of a gift at her and shuffle one step near. She paces back and almost stumbles up on a glossy shale and wet grass. I move for her to help, but she does not like that. "Keep away from me or I'll scream," she makes the warning. I keep extra still and make the promise of no hurt. I say about ugly being not always cruelty, but she does not like my words and makes another glance for a path beyond. It is not happening as the plan in my dream went, and I have confusion. I have need to know why she is so feared, and it is just my big hog-head and ugliness. I cannot get the words without my mouth except, "Why?" "Because," she says. "Why?" I make again, as a low-down sound, not screamy, and it is out of puzzlement. "Leave me alone," she says. "Go on, clear off." She runs at me with girl-pig hands and bunched as tight fists, and she would punch and kick through if she had need. I move far so she can run the path toward the road. As she sprints, shouts the man word, and I know it is not time of fulfilling. "Tomorrow is the birthday," she said, "and that is a right time to make connect and take her to Pig Palace. And this night time, trolling at the magic pig relic stone, I will give extra tributes of dandelion and beech nut before the return of Nodger to Farmer Cotton's ponds." 2. Holly Lock's World. You know when you wake up from a frightening dream, how the edges of everything are blurred? Like the everyday picture of the world hasn't had time to come back? Well, when I was there standing so close to Jack Plum, it was like things had shifted just a little bit, like it wasn't real time. All the way up the uneven path from the wood, I felt as if I was wadding in custard. I didn't look behind at all, just kept going, and I had a stitch by the time I got to the others. It had all dropped back into place by then. No more fuzziness. Samantha's bored face was sharp and clear. She lives on our street and she calls herself my best friend, but she's always going off and trying out new girls or getting a boyfriend. Then I don't see her outside school for weeks and weeks till it all goes wrong, which it always does. She can get a bit clingy and people don't like it. Sometimes it freaks me because she's very pretty and she gets away with a lot. Anyway, she was fed up with the skateboarding competition and wanted me to join a team for a game of cricket, which I shrugged her off. She just come back to me after getting really close to this girl Paula for a few weeks, so I didn't see why I should do everything she wanted all of a sudden. I thought she was going to complain as per usual when I said I was going home, but she didn't. Something just shifted behind her eyes, like she was notching up my pulse. Or maybe I was feeling a bit paranoid. My legs were unsteady and I wanted to be in my bedroom, alone, to think about what had happened, so I didn't give it. I lay on the bed for about half an hour. My head was all sort of frantic, hopping about from one thing to another, and I wasn't sure if I was trembling because I was still scared or if it was just relief. It's funny about dreams, how they make this world seem unreal and how you get similar feelings when you're frightened, like it all goes out of focus for a few seconds. I mean, I was only meters away from our house when Jack Plum spoke to me, but I felt as if I was in some other unexpected place. Ma'am says I've got an excess of imagination, as if it's some sort of hormone imbalance, but maybe it's all just chemicals. I calmed down slowly and then began asking myself questions. I mean, how did Jack Plum know when my birthday was? It was a surprise to me that he knew my name, as if I didn't even know he could talk. Then I thought, what if he'd been stalking me like those nutters do, following me, digging through the rubbish in our bin, looking for information, but he didn't try to stop me when I started to run, and he could have, the size of him. When I felt better, I got up and looked at myself in the long mirror. Too small, too skinny, no breasts, mad hair, doggy sort of face, more like a lad than a lass. Why would anyone want to stalk me? I was a runt, that's what Dad used to call me before he took off. He said if I'd been born a dog, I'd have been dumped at birth. Charming. Ma'am always took my side when he went on about me not being pretty. She reckoned she'd been a bit of a tomboy herself, but whenever she bought clothes for me, they were always a bit too big or a bit too flouncy, like she was secretly willing me to grow up. My room is great. I chose the colors, the bedding, and the blinds. Green's my favorite color, all shades of green, but especially the darker ones like emerald, viridian, olive. I've got an ensuite shower, bath, wash basin, and toilet with sage green tiles. Next to the wide window there's a wood and metal plant stand. This is cool because I want to work with plants when I leave school. Not sure exactly what I want to do, maybe train to be a botanist. What I'd really love is to discover a new species of plant and have it named after me. That's why I go into Pard's Wood. It's a very old coniferous forest, and there's always the chance of finding something unusual. I was on the hunt for a ghost orchid today, Epigogium aphyllum. It's only been seen above ground a couple of times in the past century and apparently likes the shady area below beech trees. There's plenty of those in Pard's Wood, especially at this end. Saxifraga is one of my favorite plants. Saxifraga sarmentosa, better known as the mother of thousands. The little plants at the end of the runners can grow as long as 60 centimeters. I've got one hanging above my bathroom window, with the extensions drooping right down over the glass like cold lace. On my stand there's Paphiopedilum callosum, slipper orchid, Iphion uniflorum, spring starflower, and the foil mill variety, which has beautiful purple flowers, Felicia amyloides, kingfisher daisy, and my absolute favorite, Pelargonium crispum, lemon geranium. It smells fabulous all the time, but when you pinch and rub the leaves between your fingers, it's heavenly. It's a very thirsty little beast, but it doesn't like being misted. Mom got home when I was watering the plants. I heard her in the kitchen. I thought of telling her about Jack Plum, but then remembered that I shouldn't have been in the woods alone anyway. It was pepperoni pizza for tea, followed by strawberry cheesecake, my choice. Ma'am and me take it in turns to choose what we eat. It's really so she can make me eat proper food every other day, but that's okay because I can choose anything I want on my days. And after tea on Fridays, we always have a quiz and score points. I do one set of questions and she does another. The first to get 20 points is owed a favor, like she sometimes wants to help with the ironing or I want some new music. I like it at home, just me and Ma'am. It's relaxing, but I couldn't let on at school. Everyone's always moaning on about their parents splitting up, not giving enough pocket money, grounding them for no good reason, or not letting them smoke, etc., etc. I'm lucky, I guess, because when Dad left, things got better. No more of him griefing us all the time. Being on my own's good, but I'm not that comfortable in a group. Never know what to say, unlike Samantha, who can rabbit on for hours. Sometimes I go through the motions, hang out, pretend I'm enjoying myself. You've got to. If I owned up at school that I'd rather stay in and watch a video with my ma'am than hang around the dingy precinct, sharing a bottle of cider and a joint, they'd think I was crazy. Sometimes I do wonder why Dad didn't love me enough to stay, and why he's never bothered to get in touch, not even at Christmas time or our birthdays. The pizzas were already in the oven, and when I got downstairs, I could smell the garlic. The radio was turned low on one of those 70s hit stations. Ma'am was wiggling about to the music, trying to sing along with it, but she only knew a few of the lyrics as usual. My ma'am knows the first lines of hundreds of songs, but she doesn't always get them right. She was a punk when she was a teenager. I've seen photos of her with a mohawk hairdo and 6 earrings in each ear. Black clothes were all the rage back then, and she saved some in a trunk in case the fashion comes back. Now she wears her hair long. It's dark and very glossy, and she likes skirts and bright-colored tops, sort of aging hippie style. I say hi, and she replied, "Hello, sweetheart. Everything okay?" "Yeah, fine," I said. She handed me the knives and forks to lay the table, and just then one of her favorite songs came on the radio, and she grabbed me and made me dance around the kitchen with her. "Does he love you? How can you know? How can you tell if he loves you so? Is it in his eyes?" When the song ended, we were both out of breath. We dropped onto the kitchen chairs, laughing like mad, and I suddenly thought, I don't care if I never grow up. Sometimes the other girls at school talk about boys and sex in a way that scares me, and I just don't feel like I'm ready for it. I'm not sure if it's because of how I feel about my body not being developed or more than that. Bodies are strange. What's on the outside doesn't always match up with what's on the inside. Like, I feel very mature for my age, but I don't look it, and Jack Plum looks like a monster, but his voice was sweet and soft. He also looks like an adult, but doesn't act like one. Truth was, I had no idea how old he was or what was really wrong with him. I'd always been told to keep out of his way, to leave him alone, just like all the other kids around here. Usually he stayed away from us as well. "Ma'am, you know Jack Plum?" I said casually. "Is he a boy or is he a man?" "Why are you asking about Jack Plum?" she said. "School project," I replied. This is always the best tactic if Ma'am's worried, as schoolwork is sacred in our house. "A school project about Jack Plum?" she went on. As we sat down to eat, she obviously wasn't convinced. "Yeah, special needs and all that, you know. Only a small lie." "Oh," she said, "okay, well, I'd probably say he's neither a man or a boy. He's a mixture of both." I tried to concentrate on eating for a while, but my curiosity kept niggling at me. What happened to Jack Plum? Was he born like that, with that massive head, or did he have an accident? He was born that way. "Is he dangerous, ma'am?" "It's difficult," she said after a pause. "What is?" "Well, nobody really knows what's wrong with Jack Plum." "Has he ever done anything bad?" She looked right at me and her face was sort of sad. "No, Holly," she said, "I don't think Jack Plum's ever done anything wrong." "So he's not dangerous, then? Is this really for a project?" "Yes," I insisted. Only way to get a straight answer. "He's never been in trouble as far as I know, and I don't think he's dangerous, Holly, but you can never tell. I've not seen much of him since he was a boy because he hides himself away, as you know, but I just don't think you can ever be really sure with people like Jack Plum. I mean, he's been alone with his mother all this time, and she's a very unpleasant woman, okay?" "Do you know her then, Miss Plum?" "No, not really. She's lived round here all her life, but she's older than me, and what about the dad, where he's at? Enough questions for now. Time for my bath. We'll have the pudding later, okay?" It was my turn to wash up, so I tuned in to Radio 1 and listened to the other charts. Ma'am came back wearing her dressing gown, looking shiny and hot. She cheered up during the quiz because she loves cheesecake and scored 20 points. When we watched TV sitting together on the big sofa, she hugged me tight until it was time to do my homework, biology and French, not too mind-numbing. It was dark when I'd finished. I stared out at the street and saw Colin Driver and his lot hanging around, trying to look cool with tabs hanging out of their mouths and baseball caps pushed up. Bloody shavers. When I went downstairs to say good night and do Mam's evening ritual with her. Before Gran and Granddad Logan went to live in Canada, they gave us loads of stuff, and one thing Mam loves is this old tarot pack. She says it was bought in China over 100 years ago by some relative who was in the Merchant Navy. The pictures are really beautiful, but you have to be careful because they're hand-painted. Anyway, every night Mam lays the 22 cards of major arcana out face down and picks one card. This is supposed to give her guidance on how best to act the following day. She likes me to be with her when she does it because Grand Logan said I had good energy, whatever that means. It all seems a bit haphazard to me, but I wouldn't say that to Mam. She got the death card. It always makes me shiver, even though Mam says it's got nothing to do with death and everything to do with change. There's the skeleton dressed in armor, riding a white horse and holding a black flag with a rose and Roman numerals for 13 on it. In front of him is a holy man with 2 females, one very young. In the background, the sun is coming up behind a strange landscape with a tower on the horizon. It represents a positive change, Holly, she tells me, changing old ways of thinking. 13 was a lucky number in days gone by. If you say so, ma'am. Back in my room, Jack Plum kept drifting into my head. He's always been there, in that scruffy house at the entrance to Parr's Wood, hiding himself away. We were all terrified of passing his house when we were little. Now Colin taunts him sometimes, if his mates are around, but he's still scared and underneath. You can tell by his eyes and the way he always looks ready to run. It was definitely weird, Jack Plum trying to talk to me like that, wishing me happy birthday, like there was some purpose to it, almost like he knew me. In bed I was restless, kept getting knotted up in the duvet, then getting cold when I threw it off. I got up while it was still dark to fetch some juice from the kitchen. My mouth felt sour and dry. Before I got back into bed, I turned the lights off to peep out into the street. It was dark and gloomy in between the patches of light from the lampposts, and I could almost imagine someone lurking in the shadows watching. Then I saw Jack Plum striding along the road, pulling a cart piled up high with bits of wood. He looked up at my window as he passed and raised his hand in a wave. As I dropped the curtain, my body flashed with heat. For a few seconds I couldn't tell if I was awake or dreaming. 3. Pig Palace. Mr. Postalman fetches much cards to Hollylock's house on this day of her birth, and even a box within bright, sparkly paper. Up on the step of her house she takes in all the stuff with 2 hands and big smiles. It is a Saturday. Kitty Pigs is all off from school. Soon they will throng about seeking for adventures or troubles, whatever comes first. Last dark time when I transported Piggywigs into the outside world for exercise and snaffle, the moon came blue and showered water droplets on their haunches like forget-me-nots and sapphires. I turned this hog vase at the skies, placed these hands on the pig relic stone, found Boar Star, and said wishes for Hollylock to connect at me. I have believed that some wish times do bring happenings, not all, since them for Dad's comeback have not been enforced. And later dark time, when I trolled the trap about for Woodstock, I saw Holly in her window, and that was some signal of magic working at me. Down in Parr's Wood's edges now. Down in Parr's Wood edges now. Wind blows tunes through high leaves and trees. The big train gushes by in distance. It goes places I will not see or ever know. Hollylock balances her big milky pumps on stepstones. What bridges the stream? She is full white girl pig this day, all but for dark dots in this shirt. She takes me a memory of the Baldinger spotty piggy, what breeds in another land named Germany. I see it in the rearing pig book when Dad got, and he said its name and stuff about it, like they named it Tiger Marked, and also that it is no more extinct, Dad said, but was one found it can and was long time past, breed crossed with Berkshire pigs in this land. I watch Holly at still distance and smell up this wispy day that has just shreds of wind. There is burning pig flesh leaking into here from some houses, and I make inside wishes for it to veer far from the pig palace. It is not settling for pig snouts, as well as pig flesh is toast scent, some with chard on it, and the coffee tang that Dad loved. Hollylock is scented as new crop blackberries. When I feel strong in voice, I move in closeness to her, and she hears and looks with surprise and signs up on her. I stumble to force the birthday words out into the air between us, and she does not look so scared up as pastime. I tell of my gift in one gush. Why are you talking to me? Why have you got me a present, she asks, but the voice in her is not with full anger, so I am encouraged on. When I tell her of it as a secret for surprise, I do see interest, and I say she must follow my steppings to have knowledge of it. Why should I, she says, but her eyes do not immediately look past for escape. Within my watchings and pastimes, I noticed kitty pigs telling Scaredy Cat when they had want of other kitty pigs doing a thing, so I struggled to make these word shapes for Holly. I think they do come out too strangely for her understanding. What do you want? Why are you hassling me? She says. I tell that she is a special one, and she looks immediate worried. And then I cannot find correct wordings for explanation. Why am I special? I don't understand. Far back up on the wide road, to what smells of chips and engine oils, my lop ears hear other kitty pigs lurching about. They will plod for the woods soon. Some want to make the dare game to come here. I tell Holly to follow for my special place. I tell that there is pleasure there. The words I make are half strangled up, but she grabs them good. Don't come any closer, Jack Plum, she says, extreme serious. I make the promise of keeping distance, crossing fingers in front side of heart, which is bamming like woodpecker does. I lead for the spot where long struggled garden cusps wood. I do not look back, but have knowing that she follows all my steps. I press away shrubbery to uncloak my builded door, made by me when Mam made the threats to block up my cellar inside the door. My pig door within the woods is reached only from inside the palace for extra safeness. I do not want kitty pigs figuring away in with scorching tempers and wickedness. Where are you going? Holly asks. There is a quiver in her voice. I make explanation of the downsteps up on Hoghands, 6 in number, and how she must go firstly, but she will not take this, and tells I must take the leading down. When I open the down door, I hear Piggywigs breathe extra soft. They wait for the meet with Holly, for the smell of her. I have told about her, and of my pig relic stone wishing. Some piglets begin a powdering, and Holly hears this. There's something down there, she says. I can hear things moving. What is it? What's down there? I make my voice extreme soft for not scaring, and say of the good surprise what waits for her. Just as I think she is far from the fear, she twirls like sheep chased by worrisome canines, up through garden, out into road, where other kitty pigs touch and wait for happenings. I am slowly at my street gate, and there within the midst of them she leans, snatching at breath, seeing me below the eyelashes. One kitty pig boy, Colin, takes notice of me and makes the loud oomping noises. Freak alert, he shouts, freak alert. Others join the noises, and Colin, kitty pig boy, is brave with all eyes up on him. He runs at my space, jutting arms and head like one without muscle connectors. Far low within me is a small knobbly anger place, what I have known before this time. Partly I want it to grow huge and blaring, partly I want it to go to nothing. Sensibleness wins, and I turn off inside doors. Stones crackle at walls and fence, warnings to the freak to keep off the outside in daylight time. Mam is deadly drunk in the wheelchair, slumped as a half-used sack of meal in 2 pouches. The stinging smell tells that her nappy is bad soiled, and I must pinch my nose to stall the breath to make the changes. She fights at me with the lift of the sofa, punching and pinching and slithering out words on her lost beauty and when what cute to dance with her. I believe the story is a true one, as way below the bitterness lines and nigger scars upon her face I see handsomeness, and in sleep time her skin is gentle, her mouth is not pulled so much to the earth, and I know why Dad loved her in past times. I love her also, though not as he did, and would like love back from her, though I can admit to disgustingness times as now, when the nappy is packed and leaking through edges, and stinks as Farmer Cotton's bad-tended sewage pile, and she makes much spit at my hog cheek as I swab her to cleanness. After she is wiped and dried and nappied back up, I hutch her up on my back and up steps to bed, covering the quilt to her chin. She grabs at me with wrinkly arms to keep me in close. "Stay with me, Jack, my too big lad," she slurps. "Stay with me and whistle sweetly until I forget about everything real. Stay with me." I do stay and make whistling. These are tender moments, what fill me up for those too many times she turns the hate at me. I whistle all tunes I know, tumble them one on the other, until tiny grunts say she has gone into the dream place of better times without me in the picture. I watch the pucked face and trembly eyes and make an imagining that Dad is in her dream time. I close my eyes to try and make pictures of them together in tenderness, which would be before my hatching. Life air is on my lips as I breathe the time away. And there in Mam's unhappy space, I think on all the outside world, pulling and pushing life breath in and out, and all that air mingling. All of us, everywhere, swapping the breath. Then I go in extreme quiet to my pig's brothers and sisters under the skin, and I dwell on Hollylock and how I did not make the connection, and I listened long to pig song for my answers.